YouTube.
Yep, he was not gonna embarrass her like that. Anyways, you know, I'm not a hater though. I was happy for her. Like, go off, sis. You got the man that you wanted. So now we're gonna fast forward to our senior year in high school. And the past 3 years, Kane and Maggie have been very on and off, as you would expect with the way that they started out. But most of it was him trying to tell her that he didn't have feelings for her and he didn't want to be in a relationship anymore. And then she would guilt trip him and be like, oh, you're just like all my exes. You only use me for sex. Blah, 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 blah. Which this definitely wasn't the case, okay? Because listen, Kane was a good looking guy. He could have sex with anybody he wanted to. I'm not even gonna lie. But throughout the past 3 years, Kane and I, we've been in an awkward standstill with our friendship. Obviously, we don't hang out, we don't text, we don't sit next to each other on the bus or at lunch anymore. The only time that we talk is whenever Maggie's talking to both of us at the same time. Also, throughout the past 3 years, there have been 2 times where Kane has came to my house in like the middle of the night, drunk as hell, and my room is on the 1st floor, so he was just able to like sneak through the window or knock on the window, and then I would let him in and then he would sneak through the window. But the only times that he did this were whenever him and Maggie were broken up. And I know you guys are probably thinking, sis, I thought that you had morals. Okay, well listen, because it's not that. Anyways, on those 2 occasions, he came to my house and he knocked on my window and he would literally be in tears telling me about how sorry he is that he ever did anything with Maggie and he wants to be with me instead, and he doesn't know how to break things off with her. He's been trying to for a while, and I don't entertain that shit. I just tell him to leave because I'm sorry, but like, we're turning into adults. You need to figure out how to deal with that. Sorry, not my situation, not my problem, and I'm not about to get involved, especially with the way that Maggie's been acting during their relationship. Anyway, so like I said, we're in our senior year and Maggie had surprised Kane and I with a vacation to Miami that her parents paid for. And this wasn't just like an out of the blue thing. This was for our spring break trip because we didn't want to go on the senior trip that a lot of the other kids were going on. Just wasn't our vibe. But I was super excited and not at the same time because I really just didn't want to third wheel. But it was either stay home and do nothing over spring break or go with them. And also Maggie really wanted me to go because we knew that we weren't going to be going to the same colleges. So yeah, I just decided, fuck it. I'm just going to try to have a good time. But then this is where shit starts to go south real quick. So here was the first issue, right? Her parents got our flights, you know, they bought our tickets, but they accidentally put me next to Kane and they put Maggie 4 rows in front of us. And we begged and pleaded with the flight attendant to let us just switch seats. But because it was such a full flight, you know, spring break, Miami, I don't really gotta explain. No, they were not making any accommodations for anybody. So I'm sitting next to Kane and my phone dies and, you know, he kind of realizes that I'm just like sitting there, you know, staring at everything because I didn't even get the window seats. And then, you know, he's like, hey, do you want to watch this movie on my phone? And I said, yeah, you know, there's 2 hours left in the flight. So he gives me one of his AirPods and we're sitting there watching the movie and he has his iPad like set up on the tray in front of him. And, you know, we're watching the movie. I fall asleep, my head on his shoulder. Worst thing ever that could have happened because Maggie's been getting up like every 20 minutes to go to the bathroom and she has to walk past us to get to the bathroom. Well, she was not happy about this, understandably, but she goes and reaches over the guy that is sitting in the aisle seat and she taps me really hard and she goes, I don't think my boyfriend wants to be used as a pillow. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sorry, I was not intentionally trying to use him as a pillow, but I will remember that for next time. Thank you. So, you know, I get up and after she walks away, Kane goes and he says to me, if you're tired, you can lay your head back down on my shoulder. Maggie's just being so overdramatic.
You stupid.
Obviously, I did not accept the offer to lay my head back down on his shoulder after his girlfriend just yelled at me. Anyways, then Kane asked if I would mind if we listen to music instead of watching TV. And I say yes. And then he starts putting on a bunch of sad love songs. Sad love songs. Like he starts playing Love Is by Tusi. And if you don't know some of the lyrics to that song, it goes, every time you give up on me, I will be crawling back like we made up. I just want to meet whoever made love because it hurts. By the way, if y'all are in your feelings and you are wanting to feel the heartbreak, like you want to feel that shit in your soul, listen to Tusi. He has some great songs that will make you just so depressed about your love life. T-O-O-S-I-I. Like you will be feeling that shit in your soul. Anyway, so yeah, homeboy's in his feelings and I was definitely picking up on what he was putting down. You know, the fact that he was still upset about him and I not working out, but it is what it is. You have to accept it. You know, we gotta move on from this situation. Okay. So fast forward, we land in Miami and I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't too thrilled that we had went to Miami for vacation because I'm low-key an introvert, but I would say like I'm in the middle of an introvert and an extrovert, okay? Because I'll go out, but only whenever I'm with people that I know. And I don't like the third wheel, which is obviously what I'm doing, because then I have to find somebody else to talk to whenever I am not being included in the conversation. So, you know, then I'll try to find somebody else to mingle with, but yeah, I just don't like it. You guys get the point. Anyway, so I didn't want to bother Maggie and Kane too much, you know. This was their first trip as a couple, so I decided that I was low-key gonna keep my distance a little bit and try to find things to do by myself. I mean, I know I wouldn't have bothered Kane, but it was Maggie that I was worried about bothering, if we're being honest. Anyway, so fast forward, we get to the hotel, and not even 2 hours off the plane, there's already a problem. Like, this whole day has just been a shit show. The first problem was me falling asleep, having my head on Kane's shoulder. She actually had a long talk with me about this after we got off the plane, about how Kane doesn't like me anymore, and it's been 3 years, so I just need to give up and move on. I didn't care to argue with her about this because I didn't want to be with him. Like, honey, I'm pretty sure if I kept it together for 3 years, I can keep it up, like, seriously. So, you know, we get into our room, and all 3 of us were sharing a room, which I already had a feeling this was going to be a bad idea. I really just need to start trusting my gut because it's always right. Anyway, so obviously they're sharing a bed, I get my own bed, and we're all getting ourselves set up, and I have my suitcase on my bed, and I'm taking the stuff out of my suitcase. And listen, I'm probably one of the worst people to pack. I don't know if this is a common thing, but I put all of my shit in sandwich bags because, one, I'm not investing in travel bags. Like, I don't travel that often. I don't need to do that. Anyway, so yeah, I have all my shit in sandwich bags, and I'm putting my stuff on the bed, and then Maggie comes over to me, and she's like, can you put your underwear and bras away? My boyfriend is in the room. And I'm like, dude, my underwear and bras are literally in a sandwich bag. Like, I'm not sitting here shoving them in his face or anything like that, you know? So now I'm just even more annoyed than I was earlier because for some reason, everything that I do that she doesn't like means that I'm trying to steal her boyfriend. Like, y'all, we had dinner. We had dinner, and we went back to the hotel room, and, you know, they're in the bathroom, and apparently she wanted to do the nasty with him in the shower, but he couldn't get his friend to wake up. If you know, you know. So then I just hear them yelling in the bathroom, and, you know, he comes out, storms out of the hotel room, slams the door, and then she looks at me and she's like, could you ask your parents to get you another room? And I'm like, why? What happened? And she's like, well, Kane doesn't feel comfortable having sex with me while you're here. I don't know what it is, but something about you just makes him uncomfortable. And I'm like, oh my God, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And I'm like, if he feels that uncomfortable, I can leave the room. And she pauses for a second to think of another excuse. And then she goes, he just doesn't feel comfortable, okay? Like, in a snappy ass voice. And I'm like, okay. But I felt bad that I had to ask my parents because the only reason why I went on this trip was because her parents paid for it. Like, my family does not have the money for this shit. My dad was just laid off, but I'm just like, yeah, sure, whatever. I'll do it. And then even weirder, after I say that I'm gonna do it, she's like, actually, it really just doesn't have anything to do with you. I mean, you can say if you want to, I just don't want him to be uncomfortable. And I'm like, okay. So I still go online because I'm like done with the situation. I'm about to book the other room, and she's sitting there, and it really looked like she was regretting telling me that the reason why her and Kane were having a hard time having sex was because of me. So then she's like, you know what, never mind, never mind. Like, I want you to stay in the room. Like, please stay in the room. And I'm like, no, I don't want to make y'all uncomfortable or cause any issues between you two. I'm just gonna get another room. Oh my God. And then sis goes off. She fucking loses her shit over nothing. She's like, no, seriously, you don't have to. And what makes you think that you would be able to cause any problems in our relationship? Our relationship is fine. You're not able to come between us. So fast forward later that night, we're all laying down except for Kane. Kane came back in the room, and then, you know, he got into bed. Well, 5 minutes after he walks in the fucking door, I hear Maggie trying to get him to do the nasty with her, which, I mean, you know, period, go off. It's your boyfriend. But like, you just told me that he wasn't comfortable having sex with me in the room. And then I hear him say, what is wrong with you? We have somebody else staying 2 feet away from us. You need to chill. Oh my God. And then Maggie gets up and she's like, fine then, why don't you just stay in the fucking room with her and I'll leave. And then she storms out, and I'm like, what just happened? And he's like, I don't know, I'm going to bed. So then I run outside the room. I go and I'm like, hey Maggie, are you okay? Do you want me to get another room? And she's like, yeah, to be honest, you just need to get another room. Like, you're making Kane really uncomfortable. So I'm like, all right, like, fuck this shit. I was happy that she said get another room because I was ready. I was ready for it. So then, you know, I go into the bathroom, call my mom, and I'm like, hey mom, can you take some money out of my savings for college and get me another room? And she's like, honey, like, I really don't want to do that. How about you go stay somewhere else, or you stay there for like 2 more nights and then you get a ticket home. We don't want you using that money for that. And I'm like, all right, whatever, fine. So I just get another 2 nights in a different room, and I wake up in the morning to a text from Maggie saying, I don't know what it is, but I really feel like you're trying to drive a wedge in between Kane and I. And I'm like, why do you think that? And she's like, well, why else would you go and tell Kane that I told you you were making him uncomfortable? Now he's pissed off at me for that. And I'm like, great, here we go again. And then she sends another text, and she's like, now Kane is mad at me because he thinks that I made you get another room when you really could have stayed in ours if you wanted to. And at this point, I'm literally so done with this bullshit. Like, I literally just want to go home. But we had reservations for breakfast at this one really nice place. So we go to breakfast, and to say that shit was awkward would be an understatement. Seriously, nobody talked the entire time. And then I'm like, hey, like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. So I get up and I start walking to the bathroom, and then I all of a sudden hear Kane say, I need to go to the bathroom too. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Get him the fuck out of here.
Sit with your wife, leave me alone. And because it was spring break and this was a popular restaurant, of course the bathrooms had lines. So then Kane starts trying to talk to me, and he's like, can I please pay you back for the room? I feel so bad that Maggie made you get another room, And I'm like, yeah, by the way, why did you tell Maggie that I told you that she was the one who made me get another room? And he was like, I never did that. I never told her that. I heard you in the bathroom on the phone with your parents parents talking about how money was tight and about how you didn't want to make me feel uncomfortable, which by the way, you weren't. Maggie and I have been having trouble having sex for a while now. I'm just not attracted to her and I never have been.
Oh shit, that's embarrassing.
And I'm just like, that's none of my business. And I go to the bathroom, walk back to the hotel, call my mom, and I'm like, Mom, I want to come home. And she's like, honey, like we already paid, just try to enjoy your time there. Just don't hang out with them, go other places, go do stuff, go to the beach. Like it's too late for us to get a refund. So I'm just like, all right, whatever, I'll thug it out. So later that night, I get a knock on my hotel room and it's Kane and he goes, I broke up with Maggie. And I'm thinking to myself, why would you do that? And he's like, and I just want you to know that it's because I still have a lot of feelings for you. And I really hope that after this, you'll consider giving me a chance because Maggie isn't even your real friend. You wouldn't be doing a disservice to her. She actually hates you a lot. Like she talks shit on you to everybody. She even told Jada that you were trying to fuck her boyfriend so that way Jada would try to fight you. The only reason why Jada didn't confront you about it was because the boys and I told her that Maggie is batshit crazy and she literally just hates you, which I did end up asking Jada about this later on and she did confirm it, so that's cute. And then all of a sudden, I don't even know how this bitch got in my room. Maggie got into my room. Like I said, no idea how that happened. And she goes, of course this is the first person that you run to when we have an argument. Like I should have saw this coming. And then she points at me and she's like, and you're probably loving this knowing that you can come in between Kane and I. This whole trip you've been trying to ruin our relationship. You've been trying to ruin our relationship since you found out that we started dating. And this is why I don't like you. This is why I don't trust you. This is why you're a bad friend. And then Kane goes, it's not her fault that I never liked you. You know that I never liked you. And every time that I would try to break up with you, you would guilt trip me into being with you. They were getting out some demons in my hotel room. That negative energy, I don't want to hear. Anyway, so I look at both of them and I'm like, you both can figure this out yourselves. I'm going home. And that's exactly what I did. Thank God that I did not take really any of my shit out of my suitcase. I had it basically all in there, picked up my suitcase and left. I took some money out of my college savings to get an early flight home, and yeah. So fast forward 3 days, Maggie and Kane get back from their trip and I haven't talked to either of them since, and neither of them have tried to get in contact with me. And there were about probably 3 days left until spring break was over. So, you know, I'm helping my mom clean up the house. We're getting some of my shit packed up for when I leave to go to college. And then all of a sudden my mom calls me into the living room and she's like, excuse me, why are there a bunch of hood rats standing on my lawn? I look outside and it's Maggie and a bunch of her friends and they're all screaming for me to come outside because they want to fight me. Yep. And my mom was like, what did you do to piss her off? And I'm like, Mom, when I tell you I did nothing, literally nothing. She thinks that I want Kane because he still likes me. And listen, y'all, my mom, she saw this shit coming from a mile away. Like, she really did. She even told me like 2 years before this that him liking me before he liked her would be a problem sometime in the future. What do you know? She was right. Anyway, so I text Maggie and I'm like, can we just talk? And she's like, yeah, come outside. And I'm like, no, hell no. Not until all them little gangsters get back in the fucking car and leave. Because when I tell y'all, these kids were dangerous. Okay, they went to our school. Half of them actually were graduated, but like these kids were bad news. 2 out of the 3 of those kids got caught bringing a gun to school. Not to shoot up the school. It was because they were in gangs. Literally. It was just awful. So, you know, they get in the car. I walk outside and I'm standing 10 feet away from Maggie because I was not about to go anywhere closer to this psycho ass bitch. And I look at her and I'm like, Maggie, why are we letting this come between us? And she's like, I'm not. You are. Because you just can't accept the fact that Kane wants me and not you. And then I'm like, I don't care that he wants you. Great. I don't want him. And then she's like, why don't you want him? Are you saying that he's not good enough for you, but he's good enough for me? Because I don't deserve somebody who actually cares about me? Listen to me right now. At this point, I was really questioning the status of her mental health because when the fuck did I say that? Anyway, so at that point, I knew there was no talking to her anymore. And I was like, you know what, Maggie, I'm not gonna argue with you. Have a blessed life. And I turn my ass around and go to walk in my house and finish cleaning whenever all of a sudden this bitch literally shoots me in the back of the leg. I felt the blood running down my leg and my mom noticed. Yep, she fucking shot me. And then I hear my mom screaming, who the fuck bitch a gun? So now everybody in the neighborhood comes outside. Everybody. And you know, she's waving this gun around at everybody. She's pointing it at everybody in the neighborhood because people are, you know, coming towards her, trying to take it away from her, trying to get her to put it down. And she's screaming at everybody, telling them that if they go closer to her, she's gonna shoot them too. Fast forward, I go to the hospital. She was put into a mental hospital and then she was put on house arrest. Yeah, only house arrest. And for myself, well, I survived a toxic relationship that wasn't even mine. And Kane and I are dating now. Well, not like dating. We're in like the talking stage. Well, we've been in the talking stage for a while actually, because we're afraid that if Maggie hears that him and I actually got together, because it's always the ones that they're telling you not to worry about, we're afraid she's gonna come back and actually murder me. Okay, everybody, that is the end of today's story time. If you guys like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up.